This is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins. You know, on this show, we like to feature masters of the musical theater, and boy, have we got one with us right now. Here to introduce him, my co-host, Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
The long-running musical Fosse just got a big boost with the addition of a fabulous performer, one of my favorite performers, Ben Vereen, who won a Tony Award on Broadway for Pippin, who was in Jesus Christ Superstar, and Hair, and Jelly's Last Jam, and starred in Grind, and was so brilliant in that wonderful Bob Fosse movie, All That Jazz. Ben Vereen, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Theater Talk.
Well, thank you, Michael, and thank you, Susan. I'm trying to live up to that.
Master of musical
theater. Oh, thank you for the pressure.
That's right, teacher. Instruct us in the ways of the musical theater. All right, Ben, what is it like for you to go into Fosse? I mean, you, in many ways, made your career with doing the moves of Bob Fosse. Is it a trip down memory lane, or is it still as fresh, these moves, as they ever were?
You know what this is? First of all, I must thank Annie Ranking for having the vision to ask me to come do this show, and the producers and all the people who had the fortitude to do Fosse, to keep the legacy alive. It's incredible. And for me to have this opportunity to walk on that stage and once again do those steps, it's really emotional for me.
Really?
Yeah, it's personal. And I'm proud, I'm glad, I'm excited. I'm sitting here cool, but I'm jumping inside like this. Oh, yeah. You know, because it's when the Fosse first came out, I said, yeah, of course, I want to be a part of it, but I didn't think there was a part for me. And Ann had the vision to see to it that to put me in the show, and it's fantastic. The show's fantastic. The cast is fantastic, and it's going to be good.
Are they adding new numbers for you?
No. I'm marrying into the show, and I'm singing all those fabulous songs like Cherries, and I'm doing Blackbird, and you know, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful show.
Are you going to be doing the Pippin numbers? I mean, the numbers that you created.
Yes, I will be doing that. And for those of us who have, when you've been away from something like the Fosse moves, which is really the roots of your of what you do. Yeah. And you come back to it, he's like an old friend. Yeah. And that's what's so wonderful about it.
Can you tell us what it is about Bob Fosse's choreography that makes it unique, that makes it sort of quintessential, in many ways, Broadway look and feel?
I think it's like, how can I put this? It's like a familiar tune. It's like something, it's so practical and stylish. It's so clean and it's so funky. Everyone relates to it and wants to be able to move that way, you know? And so when you see it, you go, that's Fosse. When you see it, it's like someone sings Happy Birthday in a room, everyone goes, Happy birthday, they all turn around, go, oh yeah, happy birthday. When someone walks across the room and does a Fosse move, you go, happy birthday.
But is it deceptively simple? I mean, is it hard to do?
Oh, it's hard to do. I don't want you to think that I'm not sitting here saying that anybody can do it. No, it's very difficult moves. And but once you get it,
Doing this show now, are the memories of Bob Fosse coming back at you?
Sweeping.
What he was like hanging around him?
Sweeping. Yeah. But they always were. And now being in the show, of course, they're all around me.
He was a complicated character. Can you give us a sense of what it was like to work with him?
He wasn't complicated. He was a perfectionist. You know, he was somebody who wanted his work done well. And he went after it that way.
When you were in Pippin, it was 1972, right?
Yes.
Yes. The Magic to Do number wasn't in the show initially, was it?
Oh, this is how it came about.
Oh, all right. All
right, Susan, all right. You want to, you want
tell me,
tell you the
about?
book?
Please.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you my book now.
Tell me.
Okay. Fosse had this idea. I came to the audition, and he said, take the script and read it. And I got the script and I read it. And I spoke to my agent, and literally there was no role.
Oh, there was no role.
There was no role.
Right.
And my agent at the time said, who's no longer my agent, said,
Guess he gave you a script that had no role for you in it.
He said, there's nothing here. He says, this show has like a 20% chance of making it. He said, my suggestion is not to do it. And I said, well, I'm going to go with Bob. He wants me to do the show. I'm going to do this show. And I remember sitting at the read table, and everyone was reading and reading their roles, and mine was like, enter Pippin, enter Fastrada, enter Lewis. And Bob was sitting at the other end. He's laughing, he's smiling. So when rehearsal's over, the read was over, I was sitting at the table, and Bob walks over and he looks at me and he goes, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And from that moment on, we created this character. He came about, and it was magical. He told me, he said, "Here you go." He said, "Go check out guys like Bill Robinson. Go check out guys like Avon Long." He said, "Go watch their work." He said, "Don't worry about this." And we created this character came about.
So while he was a perfectionist, he still allowed you to be as much a part of the creation of your numbers, your characters, as he was.
Bob had a wonderful saying, "You're free to do this." So he would form it, he'd shape it, he'd say, "Okay, now you bring the essence." And he was wonderful that way, of getting it out of you and then shaping it.
You were, you did a number of the big Broadway shows in the 60s and 70s, but then you went away from Broadway for a while. Why? More interested in movie career, TV career? Or?
No, interested in employment. As we all are, No.
Fewer and fewer musicals for someone.
No.
I
was
like
just
yourself.
called to do something else at the time. I was called to TV. I was doing TV for a while. I was called to films. I did films for a while. But the theater was always in my blood, and always will be in my blood. These are my roots.
Yes.
Minor TV show that you were in a long time.
But this will always be my foundation. But I went off to do other things.
I do want to talk about your the accident in '92.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, it was a pretty devastating accident.
It was very much so.
You were hit by a car.
I had 3 accidents in one day.
What happened?
I was driving in my car. I hit a tree. The tree hit me. I was minding my business. The tree ran out in the middle of the road and just smacked my car. And I hit my head on the roof of the car, damaging an artery to the brain. And later that day, I was walking home and I had a stroke on my right side. And the stroke propelled me into the highway. And a van came along and hit me.
Oh my God.
And I was pretty broken up, getting back to it. And I got to the hospital and they said I was pretty much over. I had a trach. His right side was completely stroked. My left leg was, my left femur was broken. My spleen was taken. I had a trach. I was really a mess. I was really a very sick puppy. And they predicted, they said it would be at least 3 to 4 years before I'd ever walk again, let alone be able to sing or anything. And rehabilitation, I came here to New Jersey, in New York, to New Jersey actually, to a place called Kessler, and started my rehabilitation. And on my birthday of that year, I went down to see a show called Jelly's Last Jam, and I was sitting in the audience with tears in my eyes, because they were doing what I love, the theater, and watching Gregory Hines and the wonderful cast, Savion Glover, and all those wonderful dancers up there, and they were so beautiful and generous. And after the show, Gregory came out and introduced me, and more tears. And afterwards, he came out. The producers came out and wanted to know when would I be ready to go back into the theater. And I'm sitting there all broken, broken up on a cast. And they said, well, Keith Davis is leaving the show, and if I wanted the role, I could have it, of the Chimney Man. And I went back to Kessler in Jersey, and I told my therapist, and I asked Bonnie Evans, who's the head of the therapy department, and I said, I want to do the show. And she came down with a group of therapists, And they came back and they came into my room and they said, we can do this.
Wow.
And in
That had to be the best therapy, to go into a
yeah,
show.
yeah. And then 10 months later, I walked on stage in Jelly's last
Is there
show.
anything you can't do now?
Anything I can't do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, since the any kind of moves or
I'm
any
still
dancing.
in rehabilitation. I'm still. This is more therapy for me. You know, I can't say I'm not going to do splits and cartwheels across the. No, I cannot do those today.
Right.
Today, and I don't know if I want to. I've done that. You know, so I'm moving to another level. You know, people say you don't expect me to move the way I used to. You know, no one does.
Yeah.
I had to get used to this new body. You got to understand the voice that you hear is a totally new voice that had to be rebuilt because of the fact that I had a trach.
Wow.
I came to New York, I had no voice, and Dr. Bill Riley, who worked with me, I came to him, I was like this. He said, I'll rebuild it. He said, but understand it's going to be like driving a new car.
Wow.
He said, so take your time and be patient with it. The same thing with my body. I had to rebuild my body. Mary Jean Liederbach was my dance therapist, and she's been working with me. In fact, she's working with me now in getting ready for Fosse. It's like driving a new car and learning to move differently. There are times that I get frustrated because I remember what I used to do, and even doing things with the Fosse moves, there are things that I remember that I could do easily.
Yeah.
You know, now I have to think about, you know? And so but the fact that the Spirit is willing, the Spirit is there, and the fact that I'm here talking to you, Michael, and talking to you, Susan, is the blessing.
Wow.
And the fact that Annie saw the vision to put me in Fosse is the hallelujah.
Yeah. Well, you look great to me, and you're really one of my favorite performers, and I'm so happy you're back on Broadway. And
So am I.
And we wish you the best of luck in Fosse. We're going to come to see you.
Oh, please do.
Okay.
And you come too. Everybody, bring your parents, bring everybody. Let's celebrate.
Ben Vereen.